Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Satchidananda Rupaya Vishvotpatyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hariom, salutations to all. We saw in this fourth canto about how Dhruva got very angry when his brother was killed by a yaksha, and then he went. There was a fierce war, so many yakshas were killed. Swayambhu Manu himself comes and tells him to stop all this, and also that he should propitiate the lord of yakshas, who is Kubera. And Dhruva also listens to Swayambhu Manu's advice, and he stops. So now we pick up from chapter 12, where when Kubera saw this, that he has stopped the war, Dhruva has stopped the war, and he is very happy. He comes down and he tells him that he is very pleased that Dhruva heard and followed the advice of his grandfather Swayambhu Manu, and he renounced all animosity, and hence he has stopped the war. And he also says that it is not, so a yaksha is only an instrumental cause for the death of his brother Uttama. Mainly it is Bhagavan who becomes Kala and destroys. So in the third verse we see here, Na bhavanavadhidyaksha anna yaksha bhrataram tava kala eva hi bhutanam prabhurapyaya bhavayoho. So time is responsible for the birth as well as for the death of all the living beings. So he says, it is neither you who have killed all the yakshas, nor it is that one yaksha who has killed Uttama. These are instrumental causes. Based on karma, these accounts have to be settled, so just jivas come together and these things happen. So the point is not to blame anybody. The point is to understand that Bhagavan only becomes Kala and he is the karma phala data. So as per the laws of karma, he provides the karma phalas to various jivas. So why take it personally and then suffer? Now that is one very important learning. May not be very easy to accept and practice, especially when there is a death of a beloved, somebody whom we are very close to. We definitely feel the loss, we definitely feel the grief, one feels the pangs of separation. And it is natural to go through that. What will help us to come out of it is to remember that Bhagavan alone knows the best, and this is, for us, what is death is moving ahead for that jiva who has departed. We see that the person is no more, but that jiva is continuing the journey. Like the sun sets in one part of the world, but it has actually risen in another part of the world. And from the higher standpoint, there is no sunrise, no sunset. So highest standpoint is that no birth, no death, Atma is infinite consciousness beyond all changes. But as Jivatma, there is birth and death. And what governs birth and death? Karma. Who gives the results of karma? Bhagavan. Does he give unfairly? No. He only provides the environment based on our karma. And when the karma is over, one will drop, no matter what is the condition of the body. Healthy people drop, and some people who are very old or sick, they continue to live for more time. All depends on karma. Now, obviously, we don't know whose karma is what. So while we are acting, we have to make the best choice. We can't say that we are destined like this. While making choice, we don't know what is destined for us. So while making the choice, we have to make the best choice. We can't say, I'm destined to kill you, so I'm going to kill you. That violent tendency is to be controlled, which is what we see. Swayambhu Manu also is coming and telling to Dhruva that please stop this war. And as a Kshatriya, if he has to protect Dharma and he has to fight, like Bhagavan Krishna is telling Arjun, now you fight and you have to destroy the evil forces. So whether one has to fight or whether one has to resist from fighting, that depends on the circumstances and the choice one has to make based on Dharma. But what happens as a result of that is not, one should not blame oneself or blame others and then cultivate the attitude of revenge, etc. Because all that happens as per karma by the grace of Bhagavan only. And so here it is, he tells him that, and he gives the example like in the dream, we have the idea that I am one dream character, this dream world is separate from me, and then these are different beings in this dream world. For us, we don't think it is dream world, for us it is real. But from the dream creator standpoint, this I and you and we and all this plurality in the dream is only an illusion. The dream creator alone is responsible for the dream birth, dream death, all that which is happening in the dream. It is the will of that Supreme. So here he says that like the dream consciousness, the false notion of I and you arises in a man through ignorance. And as a result of his identification with the body. And it is due to this notion that he has to suffer bondage as well as miseries. Now think about it. Yaksha is a divine being, treasurer of gods, but he also knows Vedanta. It is not that he doesn't know Vedanta. Only he controls money, or the wealth of the gods and all that. This is why we say that in our culture, dharma is the base for everything. Artha, kama, moksha, for everything, dharma is the base. And the knowledge of the self is also the requirement for everything. The faster one gets it, the better it is. Even intellectually, if one knows that, that is very important, because then things fall into perspective. Then one, of course, applies and then drops the body identification, comes to realize the self. So now, here, Kubera is telling this to Dhruva, that birth and death come by time, don't blame anybody. And this whole thing is happening because of the notion of I, the false identification of this big I with this finite equipment, one body, mind, intellect. So not knowing I am infinite, indestructible consciousness, I think I am this. And then there is you, and then he is my brother, and this Yaksha killed my brother, so I will kill the Yakshas. All that Vyavahar and Rag and Dvesh happens because I don't know who I am. And hence he says that, O Dhruva, you go and worship that Supreme Lord to be free from this ignorance. Last time he went, earlier when he met Naradji, he went because he wanted to sit in the lap of his father. So his motivation was to know, to get that lap of the father. And the mother said, the eternal lap of the father is there. The Lord is your real father. Seek that. So he went with that motive. Of course, he got darshan of Bhagavan. The rest of the story we know. Now here Kubera is telling him that you go and seek freedom, which that time Dhruvaji was regretting, oh, why did I not ask for that? He didn't ask for anything actually. Bhagavan understood his desire and fulfilled it. Now here Kubera says, now you go specifically seeking that freedom. Freedom from this ignorance, which will lead to freedom from the cycle of birth and death. And you seek that Lord who is above sense perception and yet manifest in the form of all living beings, and whose feet are only the main thing that one should seek and surrender to. So he says, that Supreme Lord, you worship him, and only he can put this end to this cycle of birth and death. Though the Lord is beyond Maya, he appears as though he is controlled by the Maya, and then he takes forms, etc. And he manifests in various avatars and various other forms, but actually he is beyond the three gunas, beyond the Maya, and so he is the only one who can take you beyond Maya, beyond the three gunas. Now, he says, you ask a boon from me, which is foremost in your mind. That is important one. Vriniha kamam nripayan manogatam mattastvam pade vishankitaha. He says, you ask the boon which is foremost in your mind, O son of Uttanapad, because you are fit to receive that boon from me. And especially you are so close to the Lord, you had darshan of Bhagavan. Now see, he is the Lord of Yakshas. That is another thing to remember here. The Lord of Yakshas is Kubera. And when he is giving this advice to Dhruva, that you drop all animosity, enmity against the Yakshas, it is Kala only who is doing all this, and that works as per will of Bhagavan. He himself also does not have animosity against Dhruva, that you have killed so many of my Yakshas. On the contrary, he is asking him, you ask a boon. In regular Vyavhar in the world, what would happen? We would say, this boy killed so many of my Yakshas, how dare he do that? We will have attitude of revenge or, anger. Kubera doesn't have. Because what he's telling Dhruva, he is abiding in that also. So he says, now you ask. He doesn't have animosity, anger. And when that deed has stopped, when he has stopped the killing, as per advice of Swayambhu Manu, then that's where it ends. Now, one thing important to understand here is Dhruva also is of Sattvic mindset. Kubera also is of Sattvic mindset. Temporarily, Dhruva came under the influence of Rajoguna, and his attachment to his brother made him do all this. That is to make us also alert that even if one has had darshan of Bhagavan, Raga and Dvesh are very powerful. Till Jivan Mukti is not attained, our sadhana has to continue. One cannot think that, oh, just because I had darshan of Bhagavan, now everything is fine. I don't need to do anything more in life. No. Jivan Mukti, oneness with the self, the self-knowledge that who am I has to be attained. Till that, one has to keep on remaining alert. After that, what happens? Alertness anyway is the swabhava of that person. Then it will manifest as a spontaneous quality because one is living in that state of Jivan Mukti. So here he says, you ask, what is the boon that you seek? Now, what did Dhruva seek? You see this. Maitreya Rishi says, Maitreya Vacha, 8th shloka. Sarajaraje navaraya chadicchodito dhruvo mahabhagavato mahamatihi harau savavre chalitam smritim yaya taratyayatnena duratyayam tamaha. So what does he ask? He is a bhakta of the Lord, one of the great devotees of the Lord. The shloka here is Mahabhagavata. Mahabhagavatas like Prahlad Dhruva, these are called Mahabhagavatas, who are Ananya Bhaktas of the Lord. They single pointed devotion they have towards Bhagavan. So he is a Mahabhagavata. What is there on his mind? Because that's what Kubera asked him. What is topmost in your mind? Seek that boon. So what is the boon that he asked? That please bless me with constant remembrance of the Lord Sri Hari. And it is only because of that one can easily cross over this ocean of samsara. Yaya tarati ayatnena, effortlessly. Duratyayam tamaha, this terrible ignorance because of which this whole samsara is experienced. Effortlessly one will cross by remembrance of Bhagavan. In bhakti, that is what we say. All troubles come because of forgetfulness of the Lord. Vismriti is the main source of sorrow. That's why it is said in Arad Bhakti Sutra also, Tad Vismarane Parama Vyakulata. That the devotee feels very desperate if the devotee forgets Bhagavan. Our condition is ulta. Now and then we remember Bhagavan. These Mahabhagavatas are those who continuously remember Bhagavan, and he is asking that boon further. He already is a Mahabhagavata. And so there is nothing else that he wants. He says, continuously let me remember Bhagavan. Because, so why does he ask? Again and again, why do these devotees go on asking that even if they have that? Are they not wasting the boon? He could have asked something else. He could have asked something else from Yaksha, and he is the god of treasurer of all devatas. What is a greater treasure than bhakti? Ordinary treasure will live in here only. It has some relevance. One can do great seva and charity and help people suffering. Those things one can do. It has its relevance. But nothing is more powerful than bhakti, more glorious than bhakti. And if they already have it, why are they asking? That is to show that one should never take this mind for granted, that now that I am devoted to Bhagavan, my mind will always be sattvic. We saw the episode just some time back, how he got anger. All that is born of attachment. So latent tendencies are very powerful. One doesn't know when these latent tendencies will manifest. So he says here, constant remembrance of Bhagavan, you bless me with that. And then it will become easy to cross over this ignorance, which is most difficult to cross. So Kubera also very gladly confers that boon on him, and he disappears. Now Dhruva also comes back to Barhishmati, his capital, and there he starts worshipping Bhagavan. Bhagavan also told him, worship me through sacrifices and rituals. I am one who is in the form of sacrifices. All that he had told that time. And which Dhruva did also. Now again he continues, but much more anchored in that way. So he propitiated through number of sacrifices, the Lord of sacrifices, and continuously he maintains this bhav of devotion in his heart. What is his bhavana when he is ruling the kingdom? The Lord in my heart is the Lord in all the beings. So every action is my seva of that Supreme Lord. This is Mahabhagavata. Remembrance of the Lord continuously, and all actions also dedicated to Bhagavan with this conscious awareness that all are divine. See that. Maintaining an ardent flow of devotion to the immortal Lord. 11th shloka it is. Sarvat, the tune is different. Sarvatman yachyuter sarve Tivraugham bhakti mudvahan tadarshatmani bhuteshu tamevavasthitam vibhum. Tadarshatmani bhuteshu. The same Lord who is in my heart is in all the beings. Tameva avasthitam. That Lord alone is in the hearts of all. Why? He is vibhum, he is all pervasive. The bhakta maintains this awareness throughout. That is called alertness. Our mind forgets the divinity of other beings and divinity of oneself also. So the way we look at ourselves, we will look at others also like that only. Our relationship with others is a reflection of our relationship with ourselves only. So many times we will not see them as they are. We will see them only as we feel, how our mind projects. And so here it is said that the devotee looks upon the Lord in one's own heart also, and so one is able to see the Lord in the hearts of others. And in this way, he ruled with great dharma, with observing religious rites, doing rituals, worshipping the Lord. Now just think one more point here. Dhruvaji, he has had darshan of Bhagavan. He got the boon also from Kubera of constant remembrance of the Lord, and still he is doing all the yajnas or not? Where do we have any of those qualities? And we are having such terrific ego. I don't want to do ritual. This is beyond me. This is old. This is outdated. This is primitive. This is not necessary. I am a Vedantin after all. So many Vedantins, if you see great masters, how much they have worshipped Bhagavan. Why did Gurudev set up so many temples? And he himself used to visit, and he himself used to have one mala on his hand and kept on doing japa. They are great masters abiding in the truth, and they still do. Somehow it has been fed into our head, or we have read somewhere, or we have found this notion because of society pressure, that one takes pride in saying, I don't do rituals. A stupidity that is. Look at these great devotees, how they are doing. And he is ruling the kingdom because of that anchoring in the spiritual knowledge. If that is not there, our ego only will rule. Then everything is for I, me and mine. That is only going to create more karmic bondage. No matter what we are doing, some form of connection to the divine has to be there in a way where the intellect, the heart, the hands, all will come together. Because the senses also need to be purified, the mind needs to be purified, the breath needs to be purified, the intellect needs to remain pure. How all that will happen? Whether it is yajna I do, whether it is puja I do, whether I sing bhajans for the Lord, those things will ensure that everything remains pure. And pure samskars go in the mind. That will purify the mind further and further, invoke devotion in the heart. And as we see, Bhagavan enters the heart through the ears. When we listen to all these, then the desire to worship that Lord also will come. And when the desire comes, forget about the society, what they think. That is their problem. They may call us old, outdated, superstitious. How does it matter? Moksha is wanted by whom? We want. We have to keep our mind pure. Very interesting. No, body every day we take bath, and when it is summer and all, and its humidity is very high, and we are sweating, and the whole thing, the hands and everything becomes sticky. Then 2 to 3 times a day we will take bath. What about this mind? Every single hour it is getting polluted. Every single minute it is getting polluted, and how much rag and dvesh and selfishness and desires, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, continuously. How will I keep my senses pure? How will I keep my mind pure? How will I keep my pranas pure? How? The rishis, they gave us the method, but we are not following that. Right from the time we wake up, we are supposed to remember the Lord to keep ourselves aware that that alone is the real goal of life. Everything else is temporary. It will come and go. We forget Bhagavan only. And then no ritual, no puja, no japa, nothing. Maximum one says, I will do meditation. In the name of meditation, keep focusing on the breathing. That will help to a certain extent, there's no doubt. But the inputs we are taking are not necessarily always pure. So consciously we have to take pure inputs in. Yajna will help, puja will help, bhajan will help. Those rituals, festival celebrations, samskaras, so many things the rishis have given us. A whole dinacharya they have given. While eating food, chant this. While taking bath, chant this. Lighting the lamp, chant this. Before the sleep, when you retire to the bed, chant this. Full day we have. Then festivals we have. Then samskars we have. How many methods more practical can be given? One shot we can reject all this as ritualism and then say, Swamiji, my mind is not focusing in meditation. How it will focus? Bhakti, I somehow can't connect to my Ishtadevata, Either we don't have knowledge about Ishtadevata, so we are not studying, we are not developed that bhav, because we don't know the glory, nama, rupa, guna, sambandha, none of that we have done. Or we may know about the Ishtadevata, but we are not putting the effort to build a bond. Still we think something, Ishtadevata is not a reality, human created concept, all kinds of wrong notions in the head, khichdi. So then bhavana will not come. Because wrong knowledge, contrary knowledge is preventing that feeling from rising. The right knowledge should remove contrary knowledge. Then the bhavana will come. Now look at Dhruvaji, he's doing all this. And Bhagavan also interestingly told him, go and worship me. Bhagavan didn't say that now that you have had my darshan, your job is done. Bhagavan also told him, and he is also asking constant remembrance, and after that he is also doing all these rituals. So many things to learn from Dhruva Charitra. And not one day, 2 days. Now you see what is said here. He ruled for 36,000 years in this dharmic way, where people also look upon him as their father. See that people looked upon him as their own father. Why? Because he is possessed of such a lofty character. He is devoted to the Brahmanas, tender to the afflicted, preserved the bounds of propriety. He neutralizes evil by practicing self-denial, meaning the evil tendencies, if they arise, then lives in self-control, practices charity, does the performance of sacrifices. In this way, he lived ruling 36,000 years, which is supposed to be the lifespan of a god, of a devata. Lifespan is supposed to be that. Then he is living that here. 36,000 years he ruled. Now some people say these numbers are very difficult to digest. So one aspect, so different ways this is explained. Sometimes it is that the one explanation given is that the lifespan in the yugas, each yuga, lifespans of human beings are different. One explanation they give. Other explanation is ahareva varshaha. That a year, a year is equal to a day. So 36,000 years is equal to 36,000 days, which is 100 years in calculation of years. 1 year is 1 day. So whichever way one thinks. So then Dhruva ruled for 100 years or he ruled for 36,000 years. Doesn't matter. The point is he ruled righteously and his righteousness was born from his spiritual sadhana. This is our culture. From religion is born the sense of ethics, morality, governance, all that comes from there. Why? Because the self in me, the self in all. That's the deepest foundation of ethics. Hurting anybody is hurting oneself. Why will I hurt? If this clarity is not there and we think ethics are only a means for getting some goal, and if others are not taking that means and doing unethical things to get some goal of money, prosperity, some wealth, name, power, position, I will also do that. That's because we have not had the clarity of the fundamental clarity that what is life meant for. Artha is one pursuit of life. Moksha is the main pursuit. And to become ready for moksha, I have to pursue artha and kama based on dharma alone. If my pursuit of artha is without dharma, I am creating trouble for myself, for others here also, and in my hereafter also I am creating trouble. And I can't escape that. So if that clarity is not there, then one will always question why ethics, why religion, I don't need all this. Religion creates only war and conflict. That's because we are equating our religion to all other religions and thinking that all religions are the same. Only we think like that. Other people don't even think like that all religions are same. Point one. Point two, just because some religions have that kind of a tendency where they become fanatic and destroy, doesn't mean that our religion also is like that and we should equate. Look at the depth of this religion, which sees oneness in all. Without knowing that, we are simply rejecting. Then we are only depriving ourselves. At least for I talk about Sanatana Dharma and Vedanta, that when we are born in this great culture, then we should open our books, study them, understand the vision, and live a life beautifully based on the Shastra. There may be struggle for it, because society pressure is high, doesn't matter. Anyway, life is a struggle. Better to struggle for the right things, better to struggle for Bhagavan, better to struggle to live dharma. Samsara is not easy to live anyways. Even if you don't do all these rites, rituals and religion, etc., is life very easy? Is much more struggle actually. And we suffer in that samsara like anything. This type of a knowledge will at least empower us. It will put things in the right context. Karma is the context for ethics. And deeper than karma is our nature as Brahma, Supreme Infinite Consciousness. These two are the fundamental aspects of ethics, the foundation of ethics in our culture. That why should I follow ethics? Only for myself, my evolution. It doesn't matter whether others are following or not. If everyone knows that this ethical living is to help me to evolve, to make my mind stronger, to ensure that I create good karmas, then that way we create a good society, dharmic society. And of course, there is no fanaticism in this dharma, where we respect every living being, irrespective of caste, community, creed, gender, and if at all there has been exploitation, that is misunderstanding of the culture and exploitation because of human greed and desire for control. That is to be condemned, not the depth of this culture. The wrong interpretation and the exploitation based on that has to be condemned, and so many masters have done that. So Dhruva, being a king, being a devoted king, because he was a devotee of Bhagavan, he ruled very righteously, 36,000 years. And having spent this long period of time to attain the three pursuits of life, Artha, Kama and Dharma, this Dhruva finally handed over the throne to his son, Utkala. That will come later after Dhruva Prasang is over, so we will pick up from there after that. But here it is said he handed over the kingdom to Utkala, and he got Vairagya, having lived for such a long time, worshipping the Lord, doing his duties selflessly, with the bhav, I'm serving Bhagavan. See this, what we read in Vedanta as a philosophy, the application of that you will see here. A grahasthi who has lived happily, serving the Lord, doing the duties, will get vairagya. That is the success of grahasthi's life. If that grahasthi has anchored in Bhagavan, in seva bhav, in karma yoga attitude, while going through the world, artha, kama and dharma, one has enjoyed. One will get vairagya, which is necessary for moksha. It is a natural outcome if these things have happened properly. If these have not happened, then frustration one lands up with. Or one may land up in some weird limbo state where neither there is vairagya nor there is any suffering. One is wondering, what am I here for now? All my purposes in life are already fulfilled. What to do now? I'm just surviving, living through this life. Somehow, whenever Bhagavan wants, he will take me. That kind of a hopeless state one may come to. But if one has lived anchored in the Lord, serving Bhagavan, doing everything as a seva to the Lord, then this vairagya will come, and there is no power struggle here. Look at another point. 36,000 years he rules, then he hands over the kingdom to his son. Imagine doing something for 36,000 years and not being attached to it. So how difficult that can be. We develop attachment so easily. 21 days we do something, we form a habit. That's what they say, no? Regularly you do something for 21 days, it will become your habit. You do 90 days, it will become a lifestyle. So, 36,000 years he has ruled, but power has not touched him. And he doesn't feel sad that, oh, I have to give this up to my son. I don't want to give, and the son has to kill him to get it. All that is not there. So many kings you will see in Bhagavat, other Puranas also. They hand over and they move. So here he gives, and he realizes regarding this universe, which is no more real than a dream or a hallucination caused by ignorance, and realizing his own body, his wives, his progeny, his kinsfolk, his army, treasury, all this, that they all are illusory. What did he do? He went to the forests, Badrinath he went. The reason why in the Char Dhams we go to, every dham has so much of significance. Badrinath is the place of Badri Vishal Bhagavan. Vedavyasji was there. He wrote the Vedas on the banks of Saraswati river there. Shankaracharya ji wrote the Bhashya on Prasthanatrayi in Badrinath. Uddhav ji was told by Shri Krishna Bhagavan, go to Badrinath and meditate there and you will realize oneness with my infinite self. Infinite nature as your own self. Dhruva ji also goes to Badri Vishal. Sacred place. It's not simply one temple there. That whole kshetra is, we call that as kshetra mahatmya. The place itself is vibrant, powerful, because so many people have gone there, done tapasya there, and that with that bhav we go there. Otherwise we go there, have some darshan, take some photographs, come and post on social media, I did this, I did that. That is very limited benefit. Once we know all this and then we go there, we have the bhav. And if we are able to spend even some time there, just imagine meditating on the banks of Mother Saraswati there at Keshav Prayag in Badrinath. If we can't live there for a long time, at least when we visit there, half an hour, 1 hour, we can sit there and meditate. Remember Badri Vishal Bhagavan, chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The same Saraswati river on the banks of which the Vedas are written. How amazing is that? So the point to understand is that he went, Dhruva renounced all this and he went to Badri Vishal. What did he do there? So he takes bath in the Ganga ji there. Or Ganga ji, from where it came? There she flows as Alaknanda. And there is Saraswati river also, Alaknanda also, they merge. That's the Keshav Prayag. So there on the banks of Gangaji, he sits there quietly, sits erect, takes bath there, controls his breath, withdraws his senses, and he fixes his mind on the Virat Rupa Bhagavan. Meaning, he meditates that this entire form, the entire universe is the Vishal Virat Rupa Bhagavan. And to the point where he loses the sense of meditator and meditated, the subject-object division is gone and his mind is absorbed in samadhi. Then even that thought that this Virat Roop also gone. So Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So he was bathed in this complete devotion to the state of the Lord, to the feet of the Lord. Stream of blissful tears are coming out of his eyes. His heart is melted with devotion. Thrill ran through all his limbs, and he is lost all body consciousness, all individuality. Jiva Bhav gone, Deha Bhav gone. And in that state, what happened? He saw one Viman coming down. And this Viman had two most luminous entities. They are Nanda and Sunanda. They are attendants of Bhagavan, and they have come because of the will of the Lord to take Dhruvaji to Vaikuntha. So that description is given here, that when he saw that these two have come, he suddenly sprang up. He was so thrilled. He sprang up on his feet and he forgot the prescribed course of worship of these attendants, because they are also great jivas. To become a attendant of Lord Vishnu, one should have done so much of dharma, punya to become that. So as human beings, one worships even the devatas, even the attendants of Bhagavan. But in that moment, he was so thrilled, he forgot. He only bowed down with joined palms, and he was uttering the name of the Lord. And Sunanda and Sunanda, they approached Dhruva, and what they spoke? They said, "O King, God bless you, and listen to our words attentively. You have succeeded in worshipping the Lord even as a child of 5 years old. Bhobho Rajan Subhadram te vacham no vahita shrunu. Yah panchavarshas tapasa bhavan devam ati tripata." You propitiated the Lord even as a child of 5 years. We are attendants of that same Lord whom you propitiated. Dhruvaji recognized, but they are still formally explaining and saying, we are attendants of that Supreme Lord whose bow, Bhagavan is called Sarangapani, his bow is Saranga, and who is the sustainer of the whole world. And we have come here to escort you, take you to the abode of the Lord. Why? You have deserved that now. That abode is extremely difficult to attain, and even many seers, many rishis, Sudurjayam Vishnu Padam Jitam Tvaya Yat Surayo Aprapya Vichakshate Param. Even great seers many times are not able to attain that. Atishta Tat Chandra Divakaradayo Grahar Kshataraha Pariyanti Dakshinam. So he says here that you come and take up your abode there. Planets, lunar mansions, other stars, including the sun and the moon, revolve around that realm, placing it to the right, which means they are doing pradakshina of the Vaikuntha Dham. That's what is meaning here. Or how do we do pradakshina? We keep Bhagavan on the right and we go around, right? These lunar mansions, planets, comets, sun, all these, they are doing pradakshina of Bhagavan as though that abode of the Lord. So he says, they say, take up your residence in that supreme abode of the Lord Vishnu, which is worthy of adoration for all the worlds and has never been attained by your forebears or even others. So you take up that. So please come, ascend this Viman and let us go there. Now when Maitreya Rishi again continues, so when Dhruvaji heard this, he recognized, oh, I forgot this worship and all that. And so he did his regular sadhana. He didn't jump into the car. You see that? There also he finishes the worship that he is doing. And he formally worships Bhagavan also there. You see, this is performed his ablutions, finished his daily routine of devotions, adorned himself, took bath, adorned himself, all that. And then there are sages, saints in that entire area. So he bows down to them, takes their blessings, and he does the pradakshina of that Viman also before ascending into that Viman. See the respect there. He goes around the whole Viman and he bows down to Nanda and Sunanda, and then he wants to mount it. He wants to ascend that. At that time, death comes. You see the 30th shloka here. Tadottanapada putro dadarshantakam agatam mrutyormurdhni padam dattva arurohadbhutam graham. He saw antakam agatam. Antaka means death, the final end of all beings. He is called Antaka. He saw Yamraj coming there. What will happen to an ordinary jiva when they see Yamraj coming? One will get scared. Or Yamraj is coming, time to go. I have to leave everything, my children, my house, my money, my this, my that. I don't want to leave. And the main thing is my body. I don't want to leave. What does Bhakta say? No fear at all. Yamraj came. Now what is given here, you see. So when Yamraj came, the point is Bhakti is the method to be fearless. The greatest fear is the fear of death. Why? Because there is a fear of loss, fear of pain. All fears have these two. And maximum loss I feel at death, and so maximum pain also I feel at death, because everything I have to leave behind. In the sense, the things, the people, whatever I've accumulated, and this body which I considered as me, all this will be left behind. The jiva goes, taking one's karma with oneself, all those 21 items, 5 senses of knowledge, 5 senses of action, 5 pranas, mind, intellect, memory, ego, vasanas, ignorance. All 21 the jiva will take and go. Only body will be left behind, and things will be left behind, people left behind. Even those things and people, Bhagavan will ensure one will get in the next life, or whenever time is appropriate, one will get. Technically, except this body being dropped, nothing else happens. And that body also, we will get a new body, a better body. So what is there to grieve in death is actually nothing. But our attachment makes us fear that and grieve. Oh, I'm losing this, I'm losing that. Nothing we are losing. It's the wrong notion in our mind. We don't have the clarity. Why were we born in a particular family? What did we do to deserve a specific type of comfort, luxuries that we are going through now? Some karma of the past is not randomly happening. So Bhagavan will take care of all that. A devotee who remembers all this, has the clarity, has the knowledge, no fear. If Mrityu comes, one says, I'm ready to drop. Chalo, let's go. So Bhakti is the method to become fearless, or Atma Jnana is the method to become fearless. These are only two. Either complete devotion to Bhagavan, and one knows that Bhagavan alone is the supreme, his will is supreme. If he wants me to go, I will go. He takes care of everything. Why should I fear? He is in my own heart. He takes, and he will be with me wherever I go. Many people think, what will happen after death? I don't know. There is no Google map available. How will I figure out that where am I supposed to go? Destination only I don't know. If I come to know destination, I don't know the path. What will happen to me? I will be one lost soul. I will become one bhatakti atma. All that is our imagination. No Google map is required. Nothing is required. Bhagavan has made all arrangements. There are enough devatas who are doing their job. They will guide the jiva accordingly, properly. What fear has to be there? That our karma will guide, take care of it, the path, and Bhagavan has created in his system. They will take care. Why are we worried? So nothing to fear. The devotee of the Lord is fearless. So if I am devotee of Bhagavan, no fear. To the extent I have fear, that means I am still lacking that much in devotion. No, Swamiji, it is natural to have these fears. It appears like that, but as devotion grows, no fear. Small child is very scared of losing the teddy bear. After one grows up, is there any fear of losing the teddy bear? There's nothing, absolutely nothing. Bhakti brings us to that state. And please remember here, Bhakti means all the sadhana he has done and developed that bhav. Doesn't come by only informative knowledge. He's sitting, he's withdrawing his senses, focusing on the Lord, doing rituals before. That is how he is able to do that afterwards, the meditation. Even in that meditation, when he is doing all this, when he is coming out of that state, again he does all these ablutions and all that you saw. So it's not that just by knowing I will become fearless. That heart has to be purified. That heart which is purified, anchored in devotion, that is fearless. I may read Bhagavat 20,000 times, I may hear 100,000 kathas of Bhagavat, but if I am not doing the sadhana of sitting quietly and meditating and withdrawing or doing the worship and japa and all those practices, nothing will happen. Knowledge I may get, informative knowledge I will get. I may even quote, I may even give big pravachans, all those things can happen. But fear will still remain, insecurity will still remain, all that will happen. Another point to understand is even a person like Dhruvaji who has got the darshan of Bhagavan, who has got darshan of Kubera, who has got the blessing, even he is finally sitting to withdraw his senses to experience the self within. The ultimate is only absolute oneness with the Lord. There is nothing which is greater than that. The most important aspect and final aspect is experiencing absolute oneness. That is mukti. And so Dhruvaji here, he steps on the head of Mrityu Yamaraj and ascends into that Viman. That's the description given here. See that? Mrityor murdhni padam dattva. One may say, is that not an insult of Yamaraj? This is to make us aware that Bhakta is fearless while facing death. And the Bhakta goes, he goes into the realm of immortality effortlessly. Meaning is gone beyond the realm of change. That's what it means. Not that literally Yamaraj is trampled and then Dhruva goes up. Dhruva is a Bhagavan, Bhakta of Bhagavan. Why will he trample on Yamaraj and go like that? The idea is to make a person aware that beyond death he went into that state of immortality, which is actually called Dhruva. Dhruva means eternal. Eternity is realizing oneness with the self. So here it is. He sets his foot on the head of death and he steps into the Viman. Arurohadbhutam graham. Then what happens at that time? So many drums are being beaten and the conches are being sounded. And the chief of the Gandharvas singing loudly, showers of flowers are being, flowers are being showered on Dhruvaji. Now, as the Viman was about to soar, suddenly he remembers, what about my mother? I want my mother also. See that. So he says that, shall I have to proceed to the inaccessible heaven, leaving my poor mother behind? Now that thought comes in his mind. And this Nanda and Sunanda, they say that, look there, ahead of you, there is another aerial car going, another Viman which is going. In that, there is a resplendent lady who is sitting there. She is your mother. We say, see. The two foremost divinities showed the shining lady going ahead of Dhruva in another aerial car. As they are passing by, showers of flowers are there and applauses are there. And he sees planets one after the other passing beyond the three worlds as well as beyond the seven seers, what we see in the sky, Saptarishi Mandal, all of that. And Devayana, that's the route of Devatas. So Uttarayana, when it sets, that route is open. So Devayana it is called, the path of the gods, or it is called the bright path. So he went through that. And what happened? Dhruva, who had attained the eternal state, eventually reached the abode of Lord Vishnu. So this already means that's the symbolism what was said earlier. When he stepped on to the head of Yamraj, means he has attained the state of eternity, and he reached the abode of Lord Vishnu. Now it is said, who will reach this abode? See, this 36 and 37 are beautiful verses. Yad bhrajamanam swaruchaiva sarvato lokastrayo hyano vibhrajanta ete yanna vrajanjantashu yena nugraha vrajanti bhadrani charanti ye nisham. So that realm of Lord Vishnu shines round by its own splendor. Even the three worlds merely reflect its light. That is the glory of Vaikuntha. And they who are lacking compassion for other living beings have never attained to it. They alone reach it who ceaselessly perform benevolent deeds, whose minds are pure, who see oneness of the self everywhere. Shanta samadrisha shuddhaha sarvabhutanuranjanaha yantyanja satyuta padam achyuta priya bandhavaha. So they who are calm, who are collected, who look upon others with the vision of the self, who are pure in body and mind, who are compassionate to all the living beings, and who look upon the devotees of the immortal Lord as their only kinsmen, they easily ascend to that state. So these are sadhanas which one can do, and one will ascend to that state. Now, what happened? Dhruvaji, who had surrendered completely to Bhagavan, he shone as a gem of the purest ray serene, forming the crown of the three worlds. Ityuttanapada putro dhruva krishna parayanaha abhutrayanam lokanam chuda maniriva malaha gambhira vego nimisham jyotisham chakramahitam yasmin bhramati kauravya medhyami bhagavam ganaha. So not only he ascended to Vaikuntha, he also is the pole star, Dhruva Nakshatra. And the example given here is, so that's what meaning the crown of the three worlds is that pole star. Chudamani means that jewel in that crown. The crown is three worlds. In that, the jewel in the center is this pole star. And the example given here is just like the oxen, they are tied to a pole in the center and they go around. They are used either for extracting oil or to crush certain hard things. The threshing floor, they keep threshing things and separate things by their walking. Like that, how they go around the pole, like that this whole, these planets and galaxies and all are as though moving around this pole star, which remains constant. If astronomically, we see that even that pole star moves because the whole cosmos, everything is moving with relation to the other things around it. It remains constant because that's how the movement is happening in such a way. The speed, whatever it that adjusted in such a way that it remains constant for this realm. So, witnessing his glory, Naradji was very happy. Remember, Naradji is the one who initiated him into Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now, one point to understand here is this. First and foremost is Dhruvaji started his bhakti from childhood only. Very important to have that samskar from childhood. What they say, start early, drive slowly, reach safely, applies to us also. Start early. The spiritual samskars must be as early as possible. Actually, even before childhood, before birth, how the mother herself can do that. Once the father and mother both, the Garbhadan samskar is that, which the father and mother should do, invoke the grace of Bhagavan, then the conception should happen. Invoking a divine soul to come. And when the child is in the womb, that time start doing spiritual practices, reading the scriptures. Actually, before that also one should do it for one's own life also. But definitely one should do when one is pregnant, and read the Shastra, remember Bhagavan, keep the mind happy, not entertain raga and dvesha, live in the attitude of acceptance, surrender. Those things will all help the child. And when the child is born, then do things with the child. So do the samskars, do the prayers every day with the child. Let the parents be the role models for the child, not that they keep telling the child and they themselves don't do. So all that. So right from childhood, that samskar has to be there. And look at Dhruvaji, what all he did not attain. He attained the lap of his father, the affection of his father, all his mothers. Then Praja loved him. He ruled for 36,000 years. He got Vaikuntha Pada. He also attained the state of oneness with the Lord. And this Dhruva Nakshatra also. All this is the glory of surrender to Bhagavan. So if one says, what will I get if I surrender? You will get everything. First of all, devotee doesn't have that question, but if at all one has, Artha, Kama, Dharma, Moksha, everything one gets. He got or not? He got Artha, Kama, Dharma for 36,000 years. He ruled with that. Finally, he got Mukti also, and he went to abode of Bhagavan. Which means Vaikuntha is that state of oneness with the Lord. In Bhakti, we say it Vaikuntha. The meaning of that is where the buddhi becomes kuntit, meaning where one has transcended jiva bhav, karta bhav, bhokta bhav, that state of oneness with the Lord. So he got that. Naradji is so happy that his disciple got it. So he sings the glory of Dhruvaji. Imagine, Naradji himself is a Bhaparam Bhagavata. He is singing Dhruvaji's glory now. So he says that even Brahmana sages, though knowing the means, meaning studying the Vedas, etc., they fail to attain the consummation reached as a result of his austere penance by the son of Suniti, who was so devoted to her husband. How then can rulers of men attain to that state? Even wise Brahmanas are not able to attain. How will Kshatriyas attain that? But Dhruvaji has set the example for all. As a child of 5 years, he retired to the woods with an aching heart, pierced by the shaft-like words of his stepmother. And doing my bidding, won the favor of the Lord, who though unconquered is overcome by the virtues of his devotees. So he had darshan of Bhagavan. And then he says finally, can anyone who is born of Kshatriya parents on this earth aspire to attain on his analogy, even in many successive years, that exalted state won by Dhruva? A state which he attained to even as a child of 5 to 6 years in the course of a few days by propitiating Lord Vishnu. Meaning, that is the glory of Dhruva also, that in 6 months' time he attained darshan of Bhagavan, and finally he fulfilled his life ruling as a dharmic king and then finally renouncing it and realizing oneness with the Supreme. So that is the glory of Dhruvaji, and Maitreya Rishi finally concludes saying that I have told you, O Vidurji, all that you asked about the life of Dhruva, and this is a story that great bhaktas, seers, seekers, they value a lot. It will bless you with all this, Dhanyam yashasyam, Dhanyam yashasyama sorry, the tune is different. Dhanyam yashasyama punyam swastyayanam mahat swargyam dhraunam saumanasyam prashasyam agamarshanam. This is the falashruti of this Dhruva prasang, that one will get all this. It is conducive to wealth, fame, longevity. It is most sacred and full of great blessings. It bestows heavenly bliss and even the eternal state, immortality, which Dhruvaji attained. It is highly commendable and it is fit to be heard even by gods and wipes out all one's sins. What will happen if one listens to this prasang again and again? Devotion will definitely sprout in one's heart and strengthen in one's heart. And that devotion is that which cuts the root of all afflictions and sufferings in this samsara. Virtues also will start appearing. It is a fountain of greatness for those who seek it, a mine of spiritual glow for others who are aspiring for it, a source of honor to the high-minded. Now, it is said here that some specific times, if one chants this, it will be very auspicious. So those things are given here in the Falashruti, that he who recites it before an audience of pious souls on a full moon day. Look at this glory of Bhagavan also. Today happens to be Purnima. So he says here, devoted to the sacred feet of Lord Hari, he who recites it before an audience of pious souls on a full moon day, or the last day of a dark fortnight, the 12th day of either fortnight, the Dwadashi of either Shukla or Krishna Paksha, because that's Harivasar. The day on which moon passes through the asterism known by the name of Shravan. So Shravan month. A lunar day which commences after sunrise on a particular day and ends before the next sunrise. A Vyatipata. Now look at the astronomical knowledge also that our ancestors had. A particular astronomical yoga when the sun and the moon are in the opposite ayana. Sun in Uttarayan, moon in Dakshinayan, or vice versa. And have the same declination, the sum of their longitudes being 180 degrees. That is called Vyatipata. On that day. Or so obviously that means what? When the ayana is changing. So Dakshinayana changing to Uttarayana. At that time, that specific time where the sun has come into Uttarayan, the moon is still in that Dakshinayan, like that. So this on those specific days, a Sankranti, whenever sun crosses into a new Rashi, that is called Sankranti. Or any Sunday, or the 7th lunar day of either fortnight, which is particularly sacred to the sun god. seeking no return for his service and remaining satisfied with himself by himself, that person attains peace. Meaning selflessly one who does this, that person attains peace and perfection. And the gods also shower their grace on that tender-hearted benefactor who shares this knowledge with other people. So he says, I have narrated to you this whole prasanga of Dhruva, who is very famous and who in his childhood itself had propitiated Bhagavan. So this prasanga of Dhruvaji ends here. What happens afterwards? Because it was said earlier, that Dhruva handed over the kingdom to his son Utkala. That happens in the next chapter. So that we will take up in our next class. So for today we will stop here. Any questions? Yes.
Hariom Swamiji, thank you very much for that beautiful explanation. Swamiji, what would be the right way to understand Dhruv remembering his mother at the last minute?
Meaning the one because of whom this whole thing happened.
Right.
Because if she had not directed him to seek the eternal lap of his father, this real father, this all would not have happened, no? And she ensured, we saw all that, how she ensured that he doesn't develop hatred for Suruchi, and he doesn't play the victim card. Very gently she guided him to the higher. So that's why he
This is not an attachment. We can't take it as well.
Not at all an attachment. If attachment was there, he would not have left them all and gone. 36,000 he ruled and then he went and he did tapasya alone, no?
Right. Thank you, Swamiji. Yes.
मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति धूम की, मंगल कांति हसनी दसलन की, मंगल मुरली बीना धुन की, मंगल आरती। मंगल बणिक त्रिभंगी हरि की, मंगल सेवा सब सहचर की, मंगल सिर चंद्रिका मुकुट की, मंगल छवि नयन में अटकी, मंगल आरती। पभी अंग अंग की, मंगल गौर श्याम रंग की, मंगल अति कटि पियरे पट की, मंगल चितमणि नागर नट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल शोभा कमल नयन की, मंगल माधुरी मृदुल पैन की, मंगल वृंदावन मद अटकी, मंगल क्रीडन जमुना तट की, मंगल आरती। मंगल चरण अरुण तरुवन की, मंगल करणी भगति हरिजन की, मंगल जुगल प्रिया बावन की, मंगल श्री राधा जीवन की, मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की, मंगल प्रीति रीति दोनों की मंगल आरती, मंगल आरती। राधा वर कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम, नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतो यमग्निः, तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं, तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की।
ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।